Welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly.
And Buenos Aires' own Tyler Hymanson.
You look like you're from Buenos Aires.
just as much as everyone else in this movie.
That's right.
Boy, I love the new way we're recording. It gives me so much time to think about that opening line of the podcast.
Yes.
While we listen to the theme song, I can get in character. So I can be like,
center yourself.
How many of those? Well, welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode.
And a brand new franchise.
Yay.
We've moved on from one power armor to another form of power armor. This week, we're kicking off the Starship Troopers franchise. The beloved Starship Troopers franchise.
Indeed.
First one up, the original from 1997.
When Paul Verhoeven sandwiched Showgirls and Hollow Man with a piece of satirical Nazi propaganda.
Oh, man, I'm excited to talk about this one. But you listeners, I have a question for you.
Would you like to know more?
If you would, why don't you check out this trailer?
In every age, there is a cause worth fighting for. But in the future, the greatest threat to our survival will not be man at all.
Hey, kid, what's going on? War! We're going to war!
Now the youth of tomorrow must travel across the stars to defend our world.
We are a generation commanded by fate to defend humankind.
Everyone fights, no one quits.
We are going in with first wave. You smash the entire area. You kill anything that has more than two legs. You get me? We get you, sir!
But they will face an enemy more devastating than any ever imagined.
Here it comes!
Incoming!
Man, who doesn't love the voice of Don LaFontaine telling you what movies to see every summer? In a world, in the future. Oh, man, he's so great. Starship Troopers. What, have any of you guys seen this? Well, actually, have any of you read the book it's based on?
No, I have not read the Highland book, but it is universally known as a very loose adaptation. It is not... But I am familiar with the Robert A. Heinlein. He's known as kind of the dean. I'm probably pronouncing his last name wrong.
It's Heinlein, I think.
Heinlein. The dean of science fiction. He was kind of like around and doing one of the first published sci-fi stories got in the Saturday Evening Post and famous for being a teacher and a kind of arbiter is the word that's coming to mind, but just a elder statesman of the sci-fi world.
Yeah, the book came out in 1959 and won a Hugo Award the very next year.
I was going to get this book from the library, but all of the ebook copies were unavailable, which I don't really know how that works.
Wait, I need you to investigate this.
Yeah, there's only a certain number of ebooks.
I thought you were going to say they were all checked out, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it said no ebooks available. 13 out of 13 checked out. And I was like...
They must have to buy licenses or something like that from the publisher.
Yeah,
I guess, and then
so.
they suspend the license on whatever you're reading.
Yeah.
Wah.
That's confusing as fuck.
But I did watch this movie on Sony Crackle.
Oh, for free on the Crackles.
It is free, ad
There are
supported.
ads? Oh, okay,
Yes,
yeah.
which was kind of confusing because every so often I wouldn't know like what was the real ad and what was the like fake news report ads. I was like, oh, like they kept showing that ad with those two football players that opened up a cupcake shop. Like every commercial break started with that. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's like there's nothing better than cupcakes and killing the enemy.
I could see why you'd be confused.
And
Yeah.
then the one with the like Honda commercial where the guy's going, "Let's get ready to rumble," like or whatever that is.
It was fully the unedited cut, right? It was fully R-rated.
Of the movie?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I would I know boobs. There
Yeah.
were boobs.
Yep.
Okay.
Boobs and,
There
and,
were
and a lot of gore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That would be so sad if you saw some sort of PG-13 version?
Yeah, but it's the TBS cut of this movie is so bastardized. It's hilarious.
It's got to be awful.
Yeah.
It's probably missing like everything.
Well, it is a more manageable runtime. We'll put it that way.
I was going to say this might be one of the longer movies we've ever watched. I was like, whoa, 2 hours. That's like Captain Marvel length.
Yeah, that's
It's
like a
like
real
Dirty
movie.
Dancing 2017.
Oh, that's true.
No, that was the longest movie
true.
we
I
ever
forgot.
watched.
Well, was it a movie though?
No.
So had any of you guys seen this movie before?
Nope.
Yes.
I had seen it once.
It was one of those, like, my brother got to go see an R-rated movie, and then, like, 5 years later I saw it, and
I was going to say, I have to say this is one of those movies that, like, some kid at school was like, hey, there's boobs in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why don't we go rent it? I hear it's a cool movie at the store. And then watch it with my friends, and we're like, ooh, boobies.
Dumb.
I know. Well, you know, that's how I picked my movie.
It is one of the more famous, like, so, like, Paul Verhoeven, who directed this movie, has directed a lot of classics. Total Recall, you get your RoboCop, like,
Again, famous boob movie.
Yeah, but no, yes.
Total Recall.
Total Recall, Showgirls. And
He's
so,
got-
like,
he's got a type.
he's kind of a dirty old man. But famously for this movie, there's a lot of full frontal nudity for guys and girls and everything else in this movie. And all the actors agreed to do it only if Paul Verhoeven agreed to direct the scene naked, and he did.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I did, yeah, the nudity scene where they're all taking a shower, like after their workout or whatever.
Yeah, it's an equal opportunity
so,
nudity scene.
Yeah, not like sexy in any
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody looks at anybody. Nobody
yeah.
treats it as anything. Like even at the end when they tease like the main character about liking a girl, they still don't really look at her boobs. They're just kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
you like her. But, you know, like no one is sexualizing
no one's
anything.
getting ogled or anything.
Yeah, it's like I thought it was really like refreshing actually. So
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that there's some funny things about this movie. We can kind of get into it. We'll get into the more things, but I think the most fascinating thing about this movie to me is how much it is kind of anti-Star Trek, and it is like the most pessimistic view of the future, and there's just war and everything else. But there's also these ideas of where genders are completely equal, and like that there's not sexualized in that scene. It's kind of show like even at the worst of these things that people are going to progress and do it. So that it strikes this really interesting balance, and the things that are good about it are kind of holdovers from the original source material, because that's something that is from that book. But the book is not satirical.
Right.
oh.
It's more about like the loss of identity and all
Yes.
sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they wanted to show with the movie like what a working fascist state would look like,
Right.
and like everything's going great.
Yeah, the
and-
whole movie is framed with these news reports or
Yes.
like almost like a website where you can
Yeah.
click to learn more, as you were saying.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, but it's just really funny because it's like some of them are commercials and some of them are news reports, and like the graphics are very like over the top, and it's kind of cool. I don't
Those are my favorite things. They're like they're clearly modeled after like the World War II like propaganda newsreels that they'd show, and they're just so funny. It was like
They are hilarious. There's my favorite one. Unless go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like they're pulled out of a movie that. If you haven't seen this movie, maybe you've seen Idiocracy or something. It's like something like that, where there's like these fake commercials or like a Tim and Eric type thing, where it's just like this absurd, these like over the top absurd commercial breaks in the middle of this movie.
There's some
so funny.
DNA. There's some DNA of Adult Swim definitely in these movies. And my favorite one is where the guns in this movie are ridiculous. In fact, this movie actually holds the record for the most blanks fired in any movie, because they're fully automatic machine guns, and everybody's just constantly firing them. But they give these giant assault rifles to these group of kids, and they're all just like fighting over them and be like, I want to shoot it, and they're just handing out handfuls of bullets in one of these like propaganda things. It's
And they're like,
incredible.
the mom's like, my favorite one is like, there's a scene where it's like, you need to do your part, and it's like all these kids like squishing cockroaches,
wearing Doc Martens, like they're all wearing creepers.
They're like happily squishing all these cockroaches on the ground, and then they cut over to their mom, who's like laughing like out of her mind, hysterically, like it's the funniest, most
amazing.
happy day of her life, or
It's
something.
amazing, yeah.
And I was like, this is ridiculous, and the whole psychic thing.
Yeah.
with Timothy Odmanson, which I was like, I recognized him, and I had to look it up. He was he played the king in that musical. What was that musical show? Gallivant. He's in this movie for 2 seconds as like the psychic
I knew the
guy.
name looked familiar, but I didn't click through.
It's like, so describe the psychic thing. It's basically like Neil Patrick Harris in this movie is psychic.
Yes.
Like, it's now a thing that people have, like, some psi powers.
It's totally unexplained. They're just like, this is a thing. You might have psychic powers.
Yeah, but apparently you can't control people yet.
Yes. And so it's basically a government propaganda thing trying to find these gifted people. But it looks somewhere between like a Miss Cleo ad and a like Uncle Sam, like the army wants you.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing, like, this is the most adult swimmy of the propaganda videos that are in
It's like this. It's like just his head, and it's like, you might be psychic. Why not use it? Or whatever.
no, it's. Do you think you're psychic? Well, you probably are.
Yeah, and then like a third eye appears on his head, and it's like, boing.
It's incredible.
It's so funny.
Yeah, we get some very young NPH
Yep.
action here, and he kind of goes from being like cute and friendly Doogie Howser status to being like straight up evil,
Straight
and,
up
like,
Nazi at the end,
yeah. Like, I think obviously I knew that they were doing like allegories for like, you know, controlling states or something, but then when he walks out in the like black long trench coat, I'm like, oh, they're Nazis.
Yeah, you're like, oh fuck.
all of the uniforms in this.
Yeah,
are
but that
all
one was
Nazis.
particularly
Yeah.
over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, who else is in this movie? We're getting some crazy.
Everybody from every franchise that we've done.
I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit.
This is like the most all-stars lineup we've ever had.
Here's my running list, and you guys can see if we have it. So we have Jake Busey
Jake Busey
from
is,
Roadhouse 2.
is Ace.
Who
as
I
Ace.
thought was actually really good in this movie compared to Roadhouse 2. I couldn't believe it.
This is his role. This is the
Okay.
role.
Yeah.
This is like this archetype is him.
Well, he's
Yeah.
also not playing like a terrible person in this movie, which
Yeah.
I think helps.
And we have Rube from Major League,
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
who dies in the worst way possible. And the
Major
thing-
League
the
2
thing-
and 3,
and the,
yeah.
and the thing I remember the most about this movie is the scene where Rube dies, where he basically is there. It's a live firing drill, and he
I had
takes his
totally
helmet
forgotten
off.
about that.
I remembered, after it happened, I remembered that you mentioned it back when we were doing Major League. And I
Yes.
was like, oh, that's okay.
I was like, that scene was happening, and it wasn't even like fully dawning on me that they were using actual rounds.
Right.
And then that happened, and I was like, oh my God.
God.
It's like so shocking. And
Yeah.
it cuts to like a maquette of his head or something getting blown.
Oh,
up.
and it's violent as all get out.
And his
Like,
face is like shocked. It's really.
yeah, it's
Kind of-
disturbing.
kind of freaky, yeah.
It's disturbing, and that's the thing that this movie does so well is that it dances this line of being this tongue in cheek, satire of fascism, which is not. I mean, which is an interesting thing to say. That's the lighter part of this movie,
Yeah.
but it pulls zero punches with any of the gore. It shows that it's trying to show at one point Michael Ironside, who's in this movie, says that violence is the ultimate power, and it is not straying away for what the cost of that is for society. Like, there's nothing glorified about. Well, no, there's glorification where somebody throws a grenade into a mouth and they're like, yes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Great moves, guy. Yeah.
But getting back to it,
Who
we
else?
also got Dean Norris from the Tremors TV show,
Yeah.
and that's my list. Who else we got?
I think that's it.
That's
Right?
what I had, yeah.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, we also have all of the special effects creature guys from Tremors series.
That's
right.
And the main guy from Species,
Yep.
who
Yep.
created Syl from Species.
Yes.
That's what I was like. This does feel like the most like Tremors to me. I'm like,
Yes.
The creatures, I was like, oh, those really look like the Shriekers and the
Yeah,
Ass
yeah.
Blasters. And,
But this movie was nominated for an Academy Award for visual effects.
I mean, as it should be. It's
Yeah.
still like, I mean, there's
It still looks good.
There's parts that are obviously like,
There's parts where the CG's
LOL,
in there, but
but-
this is Phil Tippett after Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And like there are legit puppets of these bugs, and when there are scenes that still hold up today.
yeah, they still look really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the Power Rangers movie where I was like, what?
no, I thought this looked really good, even though I was like streaming it, so I wasn't quite sure, but I thought it looked good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks
there-
good.
There's like some of the CG stuff with the ships doesn't look as good. Like
Yeah.
those aren't miniatures, and there's some stuff that looks downright awful, and some of the CG bugs don't work well.
Like,
but there's
anytime
there's
it
also
shows
just incredible shots.
Anytime it shows them looking out of like a space window,
yeah, it's bad.
it looks like they're sitting in Star Tours or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Which is kind of
How dare you?
There's also a part where it looks like they're flying through the set of the original Star Tours.
Yeah.
That first time she's like, I'm going out into space. Denise Richards' character, I was like, are they on the
I hope you don't mind that it's my first time. I'm
Yeah.
still getting used to my programming.
Yeah.
So this movie starts at Angel Grove High School.
It's Buenos Aires Educational Center.
Okay, when they reveal that, okay, I must have missed that it was Buenos Aires like earlier in the movie,
Yeah.
right? Because when they reveal that later in the movie, I was like, wait, what? They're from Buenos
Well,
Aires.
that's why they all have like she's like Denise Richards is Carmen and he's Rico.
Yeah, they all have vaguely
But
Hispanic
I
names.
totally
like
did.
Ibanez.
And it
I missed
is
that.
absolutely part of the satire where it's just like if in the 23rd century if white fascists it's just white people. It's just white people.
yeah. No, everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
There were a few black people in the infantry,
There was
but
a
that's
few,
about it. Yeah.
but yeah, everybody is white, and I think that absolutely is part of the joke of like Buenos Aires and like
There was
Yeah.
only one Hispanic guy in the infantry
Yeah.
too. Yeah, but yeah, everyone was white.
and yeah, it is all these kids in high school basically, and so we get some of the fascist indoctrination of what their lessons plan.
Yeah,
fashion
and
indoctrination.
at prom in a fascist state, and at prom everyone's got to wear the same 3 pastel colors.
That's right.
Yeah. At prom, the composer's daughter gets to be the lead singer.
And you have it at the Kaiser Permanente in Buena Park.
Oh, is that where it was? The like airport station that she goes to, I'm pretty sure is like the Anaheim Convention Center.
No, it's the LA,
Is it LA Convention Center?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
LA Convention
They
Center.
like
Which is, fun fact, the airport thing in this movie, every commercial is that part of the LA Convention Center airport. It doubles as an airport all of the time. You will see it now everywhere.
That's funny. Yeah, I just noticed in the end credits, like a couple of the songs were performed by Zoe Polidorus, which I assume was the Basil Polidorus's daughter.
My favorite bit of nepotism from this movie.
Oh yeah, I know what
is-
you're gonna say.
Do you?
Yeah.
So there is a credit as Mr. Busey's violin coach.
Yep.
And it is Martine Verhoeven.
She did a good job. I was like, can he actually play in that scene? I was like, dang, like, okay, but yeah.
That was
Can
one
he,
of the.
can he actually play that neon green acrylic violin?
That scene was hilarious because like later in the movie they get transferred to the Roughnecks. And they had just gotten a victory, and their teacher, who's like the lieutenant of the Roughnecks,
By the way,
is
he's the Mr. Feeney of the Federation.
Right,
Because
yeah.
he's your history teacher, but then he's your
also
general.
a
And,
badass.
and this will not shock you guys at all because he's their history teacher, and later he just shows up as the commander of this unit.
Yeah.
In the book, it is 2 separate characters that they just combined.
I mean, that makes sense. But it was so funny. He's like, I treat my soldiers right. And he's like, here's the beer. He like pops open a crate. Here's the beer. And then he pops up another crate and he's like, here's the entertainment. And it's like
A bunch
some
of footballs.
footballs and a violin. There just happens to be a dude who plays violin and some other dudes who play football. I don't know. I thought that was so funny. I was like, what? When he said, here's the entertainment, I was like, what's going to be? Like a bunch of blow up dolls or something?
Yeah.
It's the exact instrument this dude can play.
And this is the movie that started the trend of Denise Richards is a brilliant scientist.
God.
Nuclear physicist Dr. Christmas Jones is Carmen.
Ace pilot.
Yeah, ace pilot and math major.
She's
Carmen Sandiego.
They never really talked about the math, but I thought she did okay being like an excited pilot that was doing
she did.
daring
She did.
things or whatever.
there was a moment where I was like, did they tell her to just smile always? Never stop smiling.
They might have.
Even when she's like saying lines, she was like smiling. I don't know. I thought she was awful in this movie.
Aw, that was okay.
And I have the Blu-ray, of course.
Uh-huh.
And guess what every single deleted scene was about?
Oh, was it her?
It was her. She was like the main person in every deleted scene.
I
and there were, like,
really
6 of
didn't
them.
like the guy that she was paired with. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah, I didn't like that guy.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
What's his name? Xander?
Xander with a Z.
Yeah.
I did not buy their relationship. Like, I didn't buy
No.
anyone's relationship. I kind of bought like the Diz and Rico relationship, and I did not like that they killed her off. But.
No. But it was kind of interesting how like most of the characters were fair game in this movie.
Yeah,
That I didn't expect.
people just dying left and right. Like,
Well, the point of the movie is that like war is awful.
Yeah.
And like everyone gets so excited and gung ho about it, and it's just a meat grinder.
I love the idea that there's this planet of bugs What they do is slowly send asteroids after us.
Yes.
I think they fart out the asteroids. Was I imagining
No,
that?
those were the lobbed up. Like I think those
are
were
plasma,
projectiles.
yeah.
Like,
Okay,
those
but there was something that they were like pooping out.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were like
They're like
that was like their
plasma
anti-air gun
I
things.
see. Okay.
Yeah, those are the plasma bugs. But they do somehow push they have like an asteroid belt around their planet, and they push those asteroids off
Okay.
to Earth.
That's what the propaganda on Earth says.
Want you to think.
That's true. That's true.
There's
How do we know they're just not coming there?
They're just
regularly?
it's just not random gravity. Like,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
the thing. There's something on the IMDb talking about like it's a goof. It's like, well, like the odds of a ship encountering an asteroid, which Denise Richards' ship does, are so infinitesimal, and it's like, well, maybe that's even more part of the satire where it's like that it's complete accident and it's not invasion, it's not anything. It's just these bugs are in the book, the bugs are intelligent. They have nukes, they have, all these different things. But this gets into like a weird paradox of this movie is people start to find plot holes and it becomes starts being a self-fulfilling prophecy of it feeling like, oh, that's just part of the satire.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if Paul Verhoeven's that clever.
Well, it's just interesting because, like, overall, the whole movie, it's like, okay, it's satire. We're, like, showing this, bad fascist state. But then it never gets to the part of the movie that reveals that. Like, or the traditional story where somehow it would fall apart at the end. Or you'd find out that Neil Patrick Harris was evil or whatever.
Right.
Like, nothing's ever revealed. It just ends. And then you're like, oh, okay. Well, I feel like, yes, there was something going on there, but you never get that. Which I guess is probably what goes into all the future movies.
I don't know if there's any satire in those movies. I guess we'll find out.
I have no idea.
But I think that the thing that does that is that Rico starts doing the exact same thing. It's like he's just falling into the same patterns. It's just like like they're like shark's teeth. Like the next one in line, you're going to do the exact same thing. Nothing's going to change. It's just war breeds fascism.
Yeah, and in the final scene, they're all now part of the commercial.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever it is, the
Yep.
propaganda video. And like, so what you're saying about like the satire, let's talk about that for a moment.
Yes.
This was actually an issue for the movie when
Yes.
it first came out. Critics were like, what the fuck is this fascist movie? They did not understand that it was like, I was supposed to be ironic, satire. They did not get that at all. And there were actually, like an article in the Washington Post that got like a lot of play at the time, basically calling it like a fascist exercise and, comparing it to Triumph of the Will and everything. So when they went to go open the movie in Europe, everyone there had seen that article. And I guess they were like coming at Paul Verhoeven like right away, like, why the heck are you pushing this fascist movie?
Right.
Like, no one got it. And it wasn't until like 4 years later or so that critics started being like, oh, it's supposed to be funny. I
And
guess.
Paul Verhoeven grew up in Nazi-occupied Netherlands. Like
Yeah, he's from Holland, yeah.
But speaking of people not being able to distinguish the difference between it being satire or a piece of Nazi propaganda, it's time to play the Federation's favorite game.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
You're both going to be contestants on Fresh or Fascism. And the name of this game is that I'm going to read quotes to you from Rotten Tomatoes user reviews of Triumph of the Will and Starship Troopers. And you're going to have to identify...
There's
Which is which.
user reviews for Triumph of the
There
Will.
are user reviews for Triumph of the Will.
Because you can watch it, right?
I
It's
guess,
gotta be
but-
somewhere.
Why do we need to know what random people think about that movie? We don't.
They probably
So,
love it, knowing Rotten Tomatoes.
It's time to play.
Would you like to know more?
Actually, yes, I would.
So, Justin, you're first in the launch tube here.
God. I always have to go first.
Clocking in at a 3-star review. Despicable context, but a fantastic spectacle piece of film. You're really going to hate finding this so well made.
I gotta go with Triumph of the Will. Nailed it.
Next one, 2 stars.
Is this for me or Justin?
We can alternate.
Yeah, let's alternate.
Okay, yeah. 2 stars. Finally seen it. It was okay, kind of weird.
That's Starship Troopers.
Someone made a big goddamn mistake.
That is Triumph of the Will.
Who said finally saw Triumph of the Will? It was kind of weird.
It's been on my list for forever of shameful movies I haven't seen.
All right, Justin, you're up.
Okay.
A well-filmed piece of Nazi rubbish. This will either make you cringe or uncomfortable.
Starship Troopers.
Someone made a big goddamn mistake.
Triumph of the Will.
Damn it! I thought I'd pick that one.
All right, Eliz.
Yeah.
5 stars. This fascist take of propaganda and society is fascinating.
Starship Troopers?
Someone made a big goddamn
Ooh. Tied at 1-1.
Tied at 1-1. Justin,
All right, I'm ready.
the best movie ever made by man.
I just please Starship Troopers. Thank you, Jesus.
There is faith in
I was
humanity.
about to say the same thing. Thank you.
All right, Eliz, you're up.
Okay.
Justin's in the lead now. 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. I always fall asleep near the tail end. I hate to think what that says about me.
Oh God.
Triumph of the Will.
Someone made a big goddamn mistake.
Justin, you're still in the lead.
Yes.
2 stars. Both impressive and embarrassing.
Starship Troopers.
Someone made a big goddamn mistake.
God, Hitler, you should be so embarrassed.
I made a big goddamn mistake.
All right, Eliz, you can tie it up right here.
Oh.
1 star. It's appalling to me that people can call this a good film.
Starship Troopers.
Someone made a big goddamn
Who
mistake.
caused who are they going against?
All right, Justin, this is your final one.
Oh.
This movie is atrocious. It promotes capitalism, militarism, and genocide! Exclamation mark.
Starship Troopers. I'm feeling vindicated.
All right, Eliz, final one. Best propaganda film I've seen since American Sniper.
Whoa! Someone watched Triumph of the Will recently.
Starship Troopers.
Someone made a big goddamn mistake.
Watch
Were they
Triumph of the
joking?
Will after American Sniper.
And they called it the best propaganda
Oh
film that
my
they'd seen
God.
since American Sniper.
That's pretty funny, actually. I'm going to say that guy was being satirical.
Yeah, I think.
I hope.
And that is how we play Fresh or Fascist.
Ooh! I
Justin
won.
wins.
Hey, I lost the last game.
That's
so
right.
I had to make a comeback.
So, you know what? Critics back in 1997, maybe not as dumb as we think.
Well,
It's America. It's hard to tell now.
yeah.
I'm like, really though, like I think the reason that people had such a hard time with it is because it almost doesn't go far enough
Right.
with the satire, and then it doesn't go, but it also doesn't go far enough in the other direction of revealing that there is a dark, insidious plot beneath all this.
And I also think that Paul Verhoeven just makes big, fun, dumb movies. And so, and I think that maybe there's something that's masking about it of, like, how enjoyable it is to watch, like, a bunch of Marines kill some bugs.
Yeah.
Like, there's a sci-fi version of it that's fun. And maybe he's just far more sophisticated than, like you enjoying those base impulses and that violence plays into the idea of fascism.
That's true. I just kept thinking that the reveal was about to come.
Right.
Like when they find the station with the guy whose brain is drilled out, I was like, oh, this is going to be the reveal. Or even again, when Denise Richards and the other guy are like cornered by the brain bug, I was like, oh, that's going to communicate with them and they're going to find out, the truth right now. But it just never came. And the movie ended and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to me, I mean, I get that, like, some of the humor in this movie, like, is clearly stuff that, like, would fly over some people's heads.
Yeah.
Just like, but to me, like, the existence and content of those newsreels is enough to be like, oh, this movie is like fucking making fun of
sure.
this.
Oh, no. It absolutely
But
is.
for some people, that just goes like zoom.
And I
over
think
their
that
head.
they absolutely made the choice where it's like, you are watching this movie. This movie is a piece of propaganda, and so you therefore get no information about the other side. And so even if the bugs were intelligent or there was something else there, they outsmart them. Like, the bugs beat us for a lot. And my favorite one of the things in this movie is that there's like a Talking Head Sunday like Fox News type show, and there's some Tucker Carlson motherfucker in a bow tie just being like, a bug being smart, that makes me sick. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
It's like frankly offensive.
It's frankly offensive to me, and it's like, God, that was the most disturbing scene in the movie because it felt so real and familiar.
And yeah, there's another thing too, like we could, getting to the end of the movie, just because that's kind of what I want to talk about right now.
Yeah.
Not because we're going in any specific order, but like watching through the movie, I didn't really think about it, but after having sat with it for a little bit, I was like, at the end of the movie, they capture this brain bug, and Neil Patrick Harris goes up and like. They're like, "What's it saying, Neil?"
and he puts his hand,
he puts his hand on it, and then he's like, "It's afraid," and they're all like, "Yeah, it's afraid." And watching the movie, just when I was watching it now, I was just kind of took that at face value. But then thinking about it later, I was like, I mean, that he kind of went full Nazi, like, and he was mean to his friends even at one point.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know that he wasn't lying in that moment?
You don't.
Yeah, and like in a regular movie, he would have been like, "Oh, it's afraid," and everyone would have been like, "Oh," but instead they were like, "Yeah,"
Well, actually, I would argue that we do know that he's lying because like he did the psychic test on Rico, and Rico got one of them right, and he lied to him and said like, "Nope, like you don't have a special power, you don't have, these things." Like it, so they show that he is a liar,
and
they
he's
show
like
that he's a vindictive little.
Yeah, he's all the way up in the hierarchy there now, so he would have invested interest to.
He already sent Rico to die.
Yeah.
He also sent a ferret to crawl up his mother's skirt.
Yes.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Yeah, he's a really interesting character in this.
I love the scene at the end too, where we've just seen like we've seen Rico and Carmen like find the brain bug, escape the brain bug, kill some stuff, and like also like tell them where the brain bug is or whatever. And they come out and everyone's like, "Yeah, we won, wow." And then Neil Patrick Harris is like, "Everyone is going to remember this day. Like, it's been such a great day." And he's talking to his friends and like, "Everyone's going to remember that on this day, this random dude won the war for us," or whatever. Yeah. And it turns out that it's like their drill sergeant. But I just love that they were like, they turned around and as far as you know, it could have been some random guy that they're like celebrating, even though the characters we've been watching this whole time just went through this crazy ordeal that feels like they won the war or whatever.
Right. And then they go through it and then they're happy. They're like, "Yeah, he did."
Yeah.
Well, and that's almost like propaganda too, though, because they were telling that guy, "You will not see action. You're a teacher, you're a drill sergeant," and he had to like basically release his rank and go back to being a private to get on the battlefield, and that's shown as like something admirable.
Right. No, it's like it's very much the propaganda piece of it. Like Inglourious Bastards, where that sniper is in the movie. Like it's almost like I don't even believe that like that even that could have been a show, even that could have been part of the media, because media and messaging are so intertwined with what we're seeing in this movie in a way that's not just crazy throwaways to this propaganda. It's this movie's trying to tell you that and yeah, I mean this movie's trying to tell you that action movies in a way are propaganda. Yeah.
Man, Clancy Brown is a crazy friggin' drill sergeant. That dude has some extreme measures.
It's an interesting thought of like in a society where there's like super healing and super medicine, where like you can recover for these things. Like how much more brutal can we get? And I think that it's actually not. Like when you can instantly repair somebody's hand from a wound or instantly do these things.
He doesn't care about doing grievous bodily harm to his recruits just to prove a point.
As long as you don't cut off the limbs completely. Because apparently there's no turning back from that. Because like, all sorts of people have metal limbs.
Robo prosthetics. But even then, it doesn't stop them from being soldiers.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, I think that's actually kind of like one of those things that's kind of funny, and he's harsh, but then we think about it, it's like, wow, like we probably would have lower thresholds in terms of what was over-the-line behavior when you can heal pretty much anything.
Yeah, and we get like an kind of insane like corporal punishment scene.
Yeah.
Which I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
They're going to set him up to get like 10 lashes in public. That was pretty crazy.
Oh, it's like it's part of the propaganda narrative too. Yep. That, he screwed up, even though really like wasn't his fault at all. He has to take his licks and then, get back out there.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of the whole love triangle going on with Carmen, Diz, Rico, Xander. Like I said earlier, was mad that I was mad. I liked like the emotional payoff, I guess, of like Diz's death scene, but I didn't like that she kind of was like used as fodder to like reconnect these two people I didn't give a shit about.
Well, I think that to get into that question, I want to like just like, what do you guys think about the first hour of this movie? Because like we're talking about this satirical propaganda film and war machine, but the first hour of this movie is these kids in high school.
Mm-hmm.
High school and some training.
Yeah,
the high school scenes were fine. I
right.
don't know. I thought it was funny that he was drawing like animations on his
on
his like desk computer of like them kissing. Then she sends it back, and it's like her blowing a bubble gum in his face.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't ever feel like that she's really into anybody.
Yeah.
And so, and like the movie plays up this thing where like Rico is like, he's just trying to get a kiss, like he's gonna kiss, and then they do kiss, like they're dating.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't seem to be all that into it.
Yeah, so then I don't understand the rest of the movie's like, they're long lost lovers, finally reunited. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I feel like she's just going to run off with the next cute guy she sees.
Well, and he's like, when they separate, he's like, I love you. And she's like, he's like, just say it. Just like try it on for size and see how it feels. And she's like, I love you.
But bye.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm not really sure what they're trying to say, like by juxtaposing these two female characters. I mean, they're very different, and I get it. Like Diz is tough, and the other one's not, but she's a pilot, and I don't know. It's like it's weird because like he joins the infantry to make Denise Richards like him, but then that girl Diz changes areas completely to be in the one that he's in, even though like he didn't even like her at all before. So it's sort of strange. I don't know.
There's something that I do like about this movie in that like Rico is a super rich, like well-off person that does not appear that he has to be in the military whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But it's the propaganda and the idea of it and the idea of war. They sell it as citizenship and getting a vote in this one, but it's basically the romanticism of
they don't even
going off and being a hero.
They don't fully explain because aren't his parents like they don't have to be citizens because they're so rich?
Yep.
So there's not, they don't do. I feel like they didn't do a great explanation of like what it really means to be.
I think it's just a stand-in for what that propaganda did and make it like go back and like the girls will like you, and
or maybe they don't need to because they have money, so they don't bother to, or they got it a different way, or whatever it is. But the most interesting scene is like back to that shower scene is when they're all talking about why they joined the infantry, and that's like where you really get the world building is in this shower scene because she's like, I wanted to join so I could have kids, and I need a license to do that, and this is the best way to get it. And the other was like, I want to get into politics, so I have to do military service, and they all have like their different one guy wanted to go to college, another guy wanted to do whatever, but like so you start learning, oh crap, they really can't do anything unless like this is the only way to get what you want.
And Rube is still from a farm. Yeah.
I just want to be a catcher for the Indians.
Oh, by the way, like Rube reminded me
basically
the whole Mormon thing. There's like a throwaway scene,
that's right.
News report about how the Mormons colonized some planet, right?
They were on the bug planet.
Yeah, and thinking that they could like communicate with the bugs somehow, and then they were all murdered and killed.
And they're like, and that's why you don't think differently.
Yeah.
But who were they murdered and killed by?
Good question. Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, maybe.
But I just thought it was weird how they specifically call them out as Mormons and like Joseph Smith, and they show the tower and the angel Moroni and everything instead of just being like these religious fanatics. Instead they say these Mormons who followers of Joseph Smith.
I don't know if that's something that's in the book. I do know that that's something that because those guys at the time, like Bradbury and Arthur C. Clarke and everyone were all hanging around L.A. They were also hanging around with L. Ron Hubbard, who was a sci-fi writer at the time.
Right.
And there was talk of Mormons. There's the Expanse book series that has the TV show on Sci-Fi now on Amazon. The Mormons play into that as well. It's kind of a weird sci-fi touchstone of like that they're like the pilgrims that like still exist. And it's like a fun thing. So I don't know if that's in the book.
Well, also, like, I mean, I'm assuming this is true because it was in the Book of Mormon, but I guess the Mormons believe that when you go to heaven, you get your own planet.
Correct.
And Jesus has his own planet. And
Yes.
so maybe it's like a take on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that there's always that. So it's not just this movie that does that.
Yeah.
But I don't know the exact routing of that, but there's something.
It
There's
was just
a term
interesting.
paper out there for somebody.
It's like the only cultural or any institution that exists in real life that is mentioned in this movie.
They don't talk
like
about
the
Christianity
city
or
of Buenos
anything.
Aires. They don't talk about the country of Argentina or South America or the United States or anything like that. So it was just interesting.
Yeah.
Everything else is just the federal network.
And you get to see a bunch of really gory, murdered people and children.
Yeah. I didn't like that gore, but the rest of the gore in the movie is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I was having a blast every time they were fighting the bugs, and people were getting ripped to shreds or stabbed and cut in half.
And
They were getting stabbed in really weird, unexpected ways.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Well, it's like the RoboCop thing where he's just shooting people and really painful ways.
And you're like, oh fuck.
And there's a video out there about some dick shooting that's I recommend you go find. But the movie kind of like gets you introduced to how it's going to do gore because there's a autopsy scene in the high school where they're like getting one of these bugs, and it is disgusting.
I thought this was hilarious.
Yeah.
Does Denise Richards actually throw up in this
She
scene?
does.
She does.
Yeah.
She pukes into the body.
And into the camera.
Right as she's been saying she's got nerves of steel.
Yeah.
But Rico's just like, while the teacher's talking, just nonchalantly pulling out all these guts and everything.
He's like, oh, here, hold this. Hold this. It's like, if you know she's queasy, you weren't going to do that.
Did you guys see who that teacher was?
I did in the credits.
Yeah. Say who it is.
It is a golden girl.
That's right. I can't remember the name, though.
Rue McClanahan.
Rue McClanahan. Yeah.
And which golden girl? I just forgot now.
I never watched that show.
Yeah, me either. I'm ethnic.
I believe she was Blanche. Hold on.
They're all
while
the
you're
same.
looking that up, let's.
She was Blanche.
Okay, let's talk about the kids in this movie. Child star check-in.
Oh.
We've got 4 stomping kids, which is how they're credited. They're the kids that stomp on the cockroaches in the commercial. And there's 2 girls and 2 boys. So we have Nathaniel Marshall. And I had a tough time finding him because that's a pretty common name, but I think he's in San Diego. Austin Sanderford, I think, is in Burbank. Rhiannon Virgil, I think, ended up actually in Madison, Wisconsin.
Ooh.
And then this one I actually did find. Alexi Lakatos is a realtor in Calabasas.
Alexi Lactose.
And then the little boy, like when they have the commercial where everyone, like the soldiers are all doing their part, and then the little boy pops out of the soldier line and goes, "I'm doing my part too," and he gives a thumbs up, and everyone goes, "Ah!" Like, it's so cute that he did that. That was Travis Lowen, and I believe that he lives in Irvine and works at the Irvine Marriott. His wife Heather also works for Marriott, and they have a son named Trevor.
Oh my God.
Dangerously specific.
Hey, Stomping Kids, if you're listening, write into sequelrights@gmail.com.
The reason I found out this guy works at the Irvine Marriott, though, is because he left comments on the blog of Bill Marriott, the CEO of Marriott.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Those Marriott employees don't know how to hide their identities. I was just thinking of more stupid, funny stuff from the newsreels. There's another one that's got the famous tagline even from the film poster, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's like another thing where it's like the propaganda machine is in full effect. They show like this is after the Buenos Aires explosion or whatever. They show a close up of like this dog, a dead dog that has been that has rebar through its mouth and eyes, and it
breaks every rule of filmmaking.
Yeah, it's dead in the worst way. It shows this dog, and then it zooms up to a guy who's like, the only good bug is a dead bug, and that's famous line from the movie.
And there's also my favorite line is when there's a new man on the street reporter who's kind of like, we see the beginning of the movie, and then we see him die later, but he's doing this interview, and he's like, some people say like that we should like try to find peace with the bugs, whatever. And then Rico hears this, and he's like, what the fuck? And he just gets up and he's like, I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say, kill them all.
Oh, okay.
And then
You're from Buenos Aires?
everyone's just like, yeah.
Yeah, the other one I love that there's like there's a couple that cut away to like TV shows or something, and there's one that's like a dude who's like in court and they show him getting sentenced. He's got a sad face or whatever, and it cuts to this scene of like an electric chair or whatever, or you know, basically like a execution room, and the voiceover guy's like, sentenced, death, execution. Tonight at 6 on all channels, all networks. His voice just goes straight up to like, all right, tonight at 6.
The guy who's being convicted there, the actor, is the screenwriter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What's his name? Ed Neuermeyer or something?
Yeah,
like that?
he also wrote RoboCop.
Oh, right.
And this script was originally existed as like called like Bug Hunt or something like that, and then somebody pointed out that it had similarities to Starship Troopers, the book, and so they just ended up licensing it. But like Paul Verhoeven didn't even like read the first 2 chapters of the book, and he was like, "This is crazy right wing and like boring." And so he had told the screenwriter like, "Summarize it for me."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So there's people that probably rightfully hate this movie for just taking the name, but that's why his estate has not licensed any of his other works for film adaptations.
Interesting. So I guess, well, that sort of like gives away, I guess, that the sequels do not really come from.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
think
I guess not.
But I mean, he was kind of the father of hard science fiction, of like things that actually had scientific backgrounds, and like he wrote. I mean, if you just look up some of the things that he came up with, like cell phones, and he's just one of those guys that. Like the idea of the Space Marine and all of that stuff is power armor.
Well, and obviously they keep the title, so whatever's in the first book could be mined for future movies, because that one they did license. But
yeah, and there's like you know like you said, the book has all sorts of stuff that they didn't end up including in the movie, like the power armor. Yep, it was very much more like they were doing concept designs, and it was looking a lot more like like Fallout type power armor. Yeah, and then in the book too, they had like jump rockets so that they could jump in the air higher and kind of hover off the ground and stuff. But they decided like, well, if they're going to be shooting bugs, like having them up in the air above the bugs doesn't really,
right.
It makes it seem like they have too much of an advantage. So we can't have that. And it's too hard to have people up on wires the whole time.
Yeah.
So do you guys have a rating system for this one?
Rating system.
How many green acrylic violins?
Yes.
Good question.
Would you give the original Starship Troopers?
Who wants to go first?
I don't know.
You, Liz?
I'm going to give it 8.
Whoa. Okay.
Green acrylic violins. I think that it is misunderstood, well executed. I think that there's somebody from the AV Club and like a little bit while ago said it best, is the movie is too well made for its own good. Where like it has all these kind of subversive ideas, and if it didn't feel like a big summer action movie, it might be more successful in communicating them. But I think that while I feel that, I also think that there is an even deeper commentary on action movies as propaganda, and you can get into Michael Bay's partnership with the U.S. military and Transformers movies, and kind of the role that plays. And
even Captain Marvel is partnered with the Air Force on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. That's true.
Yep.
And I think that I think that Captain Marvel's different than Michael Bay.
Certainly. I just meant movies with military. That's all I'm saying.
And I think that a lot of the gore and fun stuff about this movie that I really, really like, it also makes me question why I like those things. And I think that that's hard to do for any movie, and especially for a big budget summer blockbuster from 1997.
Yeah.
That I don't think that they made movies like this afterwards.
Yeah.
So I will give it 7 violins. I agree with what you're saying. And I'm not saying that I was like too dumb to get that it was satirical, but I think I just could have used like a little bit more of like a wink somewhere to the fact that there was something sinister like going on here, I guess. I don't know why. It just feels like it would have been like more satisfying to have more of a hint towards maybe not just that something was going on, but what exactly is going on. And I think that's probably something maybe that we'll see in the upcoming movies. I don't know, but otherwise, I thought it was really great, entertaining movie. Like definitely one of the more engaging ones that we've had in a hot minute.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch, and I enjoyed it.
I think like I just want to like I'm thinking about it, and like I wanted that wink, but like there is something truly terrifying of just all these like gorgeous model people being complete fascists and just being like we're beautiful and we're here to kill.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's off-putting.
I'm gonna give this movie also 7 acrylic green, neon green.
Yeah.
Violins.
Yeah. Played by Jake Busey.
Played softly and sweetly by Jake Busey. Lull me to sleep with that violin. I was having a lot of fun watching this movie, and I agree. Like, I think part of it, I feel like the not going for the wink is part of actually like the genius behind it, because like the actual propaganda films, like they don't go for the wink, and like with this movie, you can totally like watch it on multiple levels. You can watch it through and be like, I didn't get any of that. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, it's like just like those propaganda films where maybe in the moment you're just like, you know, if you were like in that moment right then, you'd probably be like, yeah, fuck those, you know, whoever the propaganda is wanting to shout against. And then just
the
like
other,
this,
just the other, like
the other.
it is.
And then just like this movie, like after you sit for a second and think about it, you're like, wait a minute, like what was it actually telling me? Like what were they wearing? Like what were they saying in these moments? Like I said, like did Neil Patrick Harris lie at the end? I don't know. And I feel like going for the wink maybe it would have been a little bit more obvious, and probably would have, you know, I guess helped people to understand. But I think like that was probably a conscious choice, because I just think that was a really smart move, because it plays then kind of almost like a real propaganda.
So then where do you lose the 3 points? Like, why do you have it?
Just because, I mean, I just thought it was fun. I didn't think, it's not like a movie that I'm going to like watch all the time.
I see.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going to put it on my list of favorite movies, which might have bumped it up higher. I didn't like Denise Richards' acting, and I think maybe it could have been tightened up a little bit and not be quite so long. But
I also think that there's something like, and I don't know about how desensitized we are to violence, but like this is one of those movies that was over the top at the time, and I think that one of a little bit of the wink that's there is it's showing the cost of this behavior. It's showing all these people. There's a guy at the academy who's like, "Oh, you're going inventory like that. That's the thing that made me the mad I am today." And he has a false arm and no legs, and like they're just showing what it costs these people, but they're so indoctrinated and so blind to the human cost and what this violence does to them. And it's kind of the costs are there. They're on the screen. Like we're watching all these people die. We're watching all these things. But in the context of like the big summer movie, it's like, well, yeah, that's what happens when Space Marines go fight other people. That
amazing scene when people are like just getting their heads chopped off left and right by those flying ones.
Yeah.
And people getting napalm fire burns.
There's some fire acid in this movie that looks great.
So where do we think that the franchise is going to go from here? What is it? How many movies total?
There are 5 total.
All right. And how many years to the next one?
The next one's 2004.
Oh, okay. So a lot of years.
You want to know the name?
Sure.
The name is Starship Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation.
Oh, so Rico's Roughnecks.
Yeah, that makes me feel like it probably follows some of the same characters.
It might.
I feel that we are not going to see Neil Patrick Harris again.
Yeah,
that
probably.
Is my bold prediction.
Probably not, but I feel like we could see his character again.
Yeah, I feel like it could be recast easily.
And maybe everyone's recast in this one. I'm not.
Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm just not sure. Like you said, I don't know if the future ones are going to be satirical at all. Maybe it is just going to be straight up like, action.
Right.
Or maybe they are going to like reveal what's going on behind the curtain or whatever. You know, like I don't know. A Hero of the Federation makes it seem like it's just going to go like straight action.
It could also still be like a propaganda thing.
Yeah. Well, it'll be
where
really
it's
interesting
like
to see.
Yeah.
If watching all these sequels over this past couple years, Yeah. Has taught me anything, I think that the people will completely misunderstand what made this movie popular, and they will just be straight up action movies that...
Yeah, I would think that they would have to carry over the newsreel thing.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's
I
probably gonna
guess
still
this
be
movie
funny.
wasn't popular, so I don't know.
But it was popular enough for them 13 years later to think that a sequel was a good idea.
It didn't do well in theaters. I think this is another one where it was like, it blew up on home video.
On home video. Yeah, because
if I had to
kids like
guess.
you heard that there was boobies in it.
Exactly. And parents are just like, whatever, it's rated R. No, yeah. That would be my guess, that people fell in love with it, and clearly there's like a cult following nowadays. There's 5 movies. The most recent one was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming the effects will be pretty good, even though the budget's probably smaller, but it's easier to do that stuff in 2004, so we'll see.
I bet that the effects are going to be far worse.
Oh, really? Completely worse?
I think
it'll be
although
like
Phil
Tremors.
Tippett was an executive producer on this one, so if he continues to be an executive producer, then I think that's entirely possible. But
Well, we shall see.
we will find out.
So thanks for being here with us today, guys and girls, listeners in general. But in the meantime, Eliz, where can people keep in touch with us every day of the week?
Yes, please email us, sequelrights@gmail.com, and find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @sequelrights.
Would you like to know more?
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5-star reviews go a really, really long way, and we really, really appreciate it.
I love that thing was so creepy. Would you like to know more? And then like some faceless creature is like moving
Clicking.
the mouse around.
Yeah.
So weird and creepy.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
get a pullback, and it's the cool internet kid meme.
totally. Well, that's going to bring us to the end, you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for my brother for the music at the top of the show, as always. And next week, we'll see you guys talking Starship Troopers 2 and learn about the hero of the Federation.